Snowflakes whirled across the mountain peaks, glittering beneath the pale northern lights. Elsa's breath came out in shimmering clouds as she climbed higher, her heart pounding in both fear and relief. For the first time in her life, she was alone, truly free. No guards, no courtiers, no rules. Only her, the snow, and the endless whisper of the wind. Her coronation had ended in chaos. The moment she'd lost control and ice shot across the ballroom floor, the looks of shock, fear, and betrayal had burned into her memory. Now, every step into the cold felt like a step away from that pain, away from the people she loved but could never protect. "I can't go back," she whispered to herself. Her voice trembled, and the air shimmered around her fingers. Frost sparkled on a nearby rock. "I can't ever go back." Then something changed. A sudden rush of emotion, part sorrow, part liberation, welled up inside her. She stretched out her hands, and the snow obeyed. It danced around her, swirling faster, brighter, until it became a storm of magic. Her fear turned into power, and her power into creation. "I'm never going back," she cried, her voice echoing through the mountains. And in that echo came her song, a melody of freedom. As she sang, the air filled with ribbons of light and frost. Towers of ice began to rise beneath her feet. Walls formed from pure snow crystals, shining like diamonds under the moon. A grand staircase spiraled upward, delicate yet strong, reflecting her every breath. Elsa stepped onto the growing balcony. The mountains stretched far below, and for the first time she smiled, not with fear, but with wonder. Her hair glowed silver in the moonlight as she waved her hand. The floor beneath her solidified into polished ice. The wind carried her dress outward, and with another graceful motion she spun, transforming her coronation gown into a glimmering, ice-blue dress, flowing like frozen water. "This is where I belong," she whispered. The palace continued to grow, its pillars stretching high into the stars. Crystal chandeliers formed from the ceiling, scattering light across the snow. A great window opened toward the dawn, and Elsa stepped before it. She raised her arms, and a crown of frost formed atop her head, delicate, radiant, royal. But even in her triumph, a small part of her heart ached. Deep down, she missed the warmth of Anna's laughter, the glow of home. She closed her eyes for a moment, the wind howling softly around her. Then she took a deep breath, letting that ache freeze into silence. "I am free," she said again, though her voice held a hint of loneliness. Outside, the storm began to calm. The northern lights danced brighter than ever, wrapping the ice palace in a halo of magic. The world below slept beneath a blanket of snow, unaware that the Queen of Ice had just been born. And far below the mountain, in the darkened halls of Arendelle, Anna lit a lantern and stared out into the storm. "I'm coming for you, Elsa," she whispered. The adventure had just begun. Morning dawned cold and gray over Arendelle. Snow blanketed the rooftops, the harbor was frozen still, and the air shimmered with frost. Inside the castle, Anna stood by the window, staring out into the endless white. The night before had felt like a dream. Elsa's powers revealed, the party in ruins, and now the entire kingdom trapped in eternal winter. But Anna's heart was certain of one thing. Her sister didn't mean for any of this to happen. "She's out there, scared and alone," Anna said, her voice trembling but determined. "And I'm going to find her." She wrapped herself in a thick cloak, pulled on her gloves, and grabbed a small satchel. The servants tried to stop her, warning of the deadly storm, but Anna's resolve was unshakable. She stepped outside into the snow, her breath fogging in the freezing air. Each step toward the mountains felt heavier, but the thought of Elsa kept her moving. Hours passed. The wind howled like wolves through the trees. Just as Anna began to doubt her path, she spotted a small cabin, smoke curling from its chimney. She stumbled toward it, half frozen, and burst through the door. Inside, a young man with messy blonde hair was arguing with a reindeer. "No, Sven, we can't eat the carrots yet," he said. Anna blinked in surprise. Excuse me?" The man turned, startled. "Whoa. Who are you?" "I'm Anna of Arendelle," she said quickly. I'm looking for my sister, the queen. She kind of accidentally froze the entire kingdom. Kristoff blinked. Wait, what? It took only a few minutes for Anna to explain everything, words tumbling out as fast as her shivering breath would allow. Kristoff listened, eyebrows raised. Finally, he shrugged. Well, I was planning on heading up the North Mountain anyway to collect ice. Guess that's cancelled now, but I can take you there. Anna's eyes brightened. Really? You'd help me? He grinned. You're not exactly dressed for an avalanche, princess. Someone's got to make sure you don't freeze. Sven nudged Anna playfully, and she laughed for the first time in days. They set off together, the reindeer's hooves crunching through the snow. The journey was far from easy. The winds grew stronger, and ice cracked beneath their sled. At one point, they were chased by wolves, and though Kristoff's sled was destroyed, their teamwork saved them both. Anna's spirit amazed him. Even when things went wrong, she never gave up. As night fell, they built a fire in a small cave. Flames danced across the icy walls, casting warm golden light. Why do you care so much about finding her? Kristoff asked quietly. She kind of froze everything. Anna smiled softly. Because she's my sister. She's not a monster. She's just afraid. I know she still loves me. Kristoff looked into the flames and nodded. You really believe that? With all my heart. The fire crackled, and outside snowflakes drifted like tiny stars. For the first time, the cold didn't feel so harsh. They shared dried berries and laughter, while Sven snored loudly beside them. When morning came, the storm had cleared enough to reveal a breathtaking sight. Far in the distance, high upon the cliffs, something shimmered. A grand palace made entirely of ice caught the sunlight, sparkling like a diamond. Anna gasped. That has to be her. Elsa's palace. Kristoff shaded his eyes. Well, that's definitely not natural. Anna's heart pounded with hope. Then that's where we're going. She took a deep breath, her eyes full of determination. The path ahead was dangerous, but nothing could stop her now. High above, the ice palace glittered like a beacon, waiting for the moment when two sisters' worlds would finally collide once more. The climb to Elsa's palace was steeper than Anna imagined. Snow whipped around them, and each gust of wind stung her cheeks like icy needles. Kristoff trudged ahead, guiding Sven carefully across the frozen ridges. Olaf, who had joined them along the way, a talking snowman full of endless cheer, bounced beside Anna, humming happily. I can't feel my legs, Olaf said cheerfully. Oh, wait, I don't have legs. Anna laughed, even as her fingers went numb. Olaf, you're amazing. Thanks. I like warm hugs, he beamed. After hours of climbing, they finally reached a glittering bridge made entirely of ice. The palace shimmered ahead, towers spiraling upward, glowing blue under the sunlight. It was breathtaking, like a dream made real. Anna felt her heart skip. She's really here, she whispered. Kristoff placed a hand on her shoulder. Be careful. You don't know what kind of mood she's in. Anna nodded and stepped forward. The great doors of ice opened at her touch, humming softly with magic. Inside, the palace gleamed with crystal light, reflections dancing on every wall, as if the whole place were alive. At the far end of the grand hall stood Elsa, her silver-blue dress flowing like a river of frost. She turned at the sound of footsteps, her eyes widening. Anna? Elsa's voice trembled. Anna smiled through her tears. Elsa! I finally found you! Elsa took a step back, her expression torn between joy and fear. You shouldn't be here. It's not safe. I had to come, Anna said, moving closer. Arendelle is frozen. It's completely covered in snow, but I know you can fix it. We can fix it together. Elsa's gaze dropped to the floor. I can't. Don't you see? I don't know how to stop it. Every time I try to control it, it just gets worse. Anna shook her head. That's not true. You're not dangerous, Elsa. You're my sister. Tears glimmered in Elsa's eyes. For a moment, her hand twitched toward Anna's, but then she hesitated. The air around her shimmered with cold energy, frost curling along the floor. Please, go back home before I hurt you again. Anna's voice softened. You won't hurt me. Elsa turned away, clutching her hands. Yes, I will. You don't understand. I built this palace so I'd never hurt anyone again. Anna's heart ached. She took another step forward. But isolating yourself isn't living. I miss you, Elsa. I miss us. The walls around them began to sparkle brighter, the palace responding to Elsa's emotions. Crystals grew sharper. The air grew colder. Fear flickered in Elsa's eyes. I said go! Not until you come home with me! Elsa's control snapped. In a flash of panic, her magic surged. A sudden blast of ice burst from her hands, striking Anna squarely in the chest. The sound echoed through the hall, like thunder. Anna gasped, stumbling backward. Frost spread across her dress, glittering faintly before fading. She looked up, dazed. Elsa! Elsa's eyes widened in horror. No, 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 no. What have I done? Kristoff and Olaf rushed inside at that moment. Seeing Anna, pale and trembling, Kristoff caught her before she fell. She's freezing, he whispered urgently. Elsa backed away, trembling. Please, just go. All of you. Leave me alone. Her words were barely a whisper, yet the entire palace shuddered. Shards of ice sealed the doorway behind them as they fled. Outside, snow began to swirl into a fierce blizzard, roaring down the mountainside. Anna clutched her chest. She didn't mean to. Kristoff nodded grimly. We have to get you help. Now. As they disappeared into the storm, Elsa collapsed to her knees inside the palace, tears freezing on her cheeks. Her heart shattered like glass. For the first time, her beautiful creation felt like a prison made of her own fear. Elsa stood on the balcony of her glittering palace, gazing at the endless snow. The mountains below were silent, beautiful, untouched. For the first time in her life, she felt free. No rules, no fear, no expectations. The world was hers to shape. She raised her hand and let the cold surge through her. Ice spiraled upward, forming delicate bridges, twisting towers, and shimmering arches. The palace expanded like a living sculpture. Every snowflake fell exactly where she willed it. This, she whispered, is what I was meant to be. Her laughter echoed through the peaks, clear and musical. She twirled in delight, her gown sparkling under the northern lights. Every step she took left trails of crystal flowers blooming on the floor. Elsa was no longer afraid of her gift. She embraced it. Far below, however, fear had spread through Arendelle. The fjord was frozen solid, ships trapped in place. People huddled in their homes, whispering of the queen who had cursed the kingdom. The Snow Queen, they called her now. Anna refused to believe it. Wrapped in a thick cloak, she led Kristoff and Sven through the blizzard, determination in her eyes. Elsa didn't mean to do this, she said. She's scared. We just have to find her. Kristoff nodded, though the cold bit through his clothes. You've got guts, Princess. But are you sure she wants to be found? She's my sister, Anna said firmly. Of course she does. The climb was grueling. Snow fell heavier with each step. Sven's fur was coated in frost. At one point, Kristoff offered to turn back, but Anna refused. Her love for Elsa kept her moving. Back in the palace, Elsa watched from her ice balcony. She could see Arendelle's distant rooftops beneath the clouds, frozen, silent. A pang of guilt pierced her heart. No, she told herself. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm protecting them. From me. But deep down, the truth shed like frostbite. She missed her sister. She missed laughter, warmth, home. Then, faintly, she heard a voice echo through the wind. Elsa! Her eyes widened. Anna? The voice came again, closer now. Elsa stepped back, her heart pounding. No, she can't be here. It's not safe. Moments later, Anna stumbled through the grand ice doors, her breath visible in the cold air. Her eyes widened at the sight of the glittering palace. Wow, she whispered. You built all this? Elsa's voice trembled. Anna, you shouldn't have come. Anna smiled gently. You don't have to hide anymore. We can go home. I can't, Elsa said, turning away. I don't know how to stop it. Then we'll figure it out together, like we always do. Elsa shook her head. You don't understand. I can't control it. Her fear burst out with her words, a surge of ice and wind spiraling across the floor. Crystals exploded from her fingertips. Anna shielded herself, gasping. Elsa, please! But the harder Elsa tried to hold it back, the wilder it grew. The palace trembled. Ice climbed the walls like living vines. Elsa fell to her knees, shaking. Go, Anna, before I hurt you. I'm not leaving you, Anna cried. Then, suddenly, a blast. Elsa's power flared uncontrollably, striking Anna in the chest. The glow faded. Anna staggered, clutching her heart. Anna? Elsa gasped. What did I do? Anna's skin paled slightly, frost glimmering on her hair. It's okay, she whispered. I know you didn't mean to. Before Elsa could speak, the heavy doors burst open. Men in armor stormed in, led by Prince Hans. There she is, he shouted. The monster! Elsa's eyes widened. Fear turned to fury. Stay away, she screamed. With one sweep of her arm, a storm exploded outward, shattering ice columns and throwing the men back. Anna reached out weakly, but the snow swallowed everything in white. Elsa fled, vanishing into the blizzard once more. Snow drifted gently over the mountains as the storm calmed for a moment. Elsa stood on an icy ridge, her breath sharp in the cold. The fear inside her had quieted, replaced by exhaustion and guilt. She could still see Anna's face in her mind, kind, forgiving, full of love. Elsa had pushed her away again, terrified of hurting her. But this time she had truly done it. That flash of magic, that frozen spark in Anna's chest, it haunted her. I never meant to hurt her, Elsa whispered into the wind. Why can't I just be normal? The wind didn't answer, but somewhere far below, Anna's condition worsened. Her hair had turned nearly white. Each step grew harder, her strength fading. Kristoff noticed. Anna, you're freezing. We need to get you help. Now. Anna tried to smile. I'm fine. We just have to reach Elsa. But Kristoff shook his head. If we don't find a cure soon, you'll turn to ice. Olaf, trotting beside them, looked worried. Turn to ice? Like a snowman? Anna managed a faint laugh. Something like that. They trudged onward until a strange figure appeared through the fog, Grandpappy, the ancient troll elder. His eyes glowed softly as he examined Anna's frozen heart. Only an act of true love can thaw a frozen heart, he said solemnly. True love's kiss, Kristoff said quickly. Hans, he's waiting back in Arendelle. With new hope, Kristoff lifted Anna onto Sven's back. Hang on, Anna. We'll get you there. The storm grew fierce again as they raced down the mountain. Snow lashed their faces, wind howled, but Kristoff never slowed. His heart ached. He didn't want to let her go. Meanwhile, Elsa's emotions churned. Her powers flared wildly as she tried to contain them. The ice palace shook. She fell to her knees, clutching the floor. I just want it to stop. The sound of footsteps echoed. She turned to see Hans and his soldiers, sword drawn. Queen Elsa, Hans said coldly, you're under arrest in the name of Arendelle. She backed away, fear flashing in her eyes. Please, stay back. I don't want to hurt anyone. Then surrender, Hans replied, stepping closer. Elsa's panic spiked. Ice burst from the floor, forming jagged spikes. The soldiers retreated as she screamed, Leave me alone! A wave of frost exploded outward, knocking them down. Hans shielded his face, then gave a signal. Ropes flew through the air, tangling Elsa's arms. She struggled, but exhaustion overtook her. The storm dimmed as she fell to the ground, unconscious. They bound her in iron shackles and dragged her back to Arendelle. Hours later, Elsa awoke in a dim, cold cell, walls of stone around her, chains heavy on her wrists. Her breath fogged in the air. For the first time since she'd fled, she felt truly trapped. Anna, she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. Above her, the castle quaked with the growing storm she could no longer control. Even bound, Her magic reacted to her fear. Ice crept along the walls, forming sharp crystals that shimmered in the candlelight. Hans entered, his face calm, but eyes filled with deceit. "You can't control it, can you?" he said softly. "Your power is destroying everything." Elsa turned away, silent. "You've done enough," Hans continued. "Your sister is dying because of you." Elsa's heart shattered. "What?" He smirked faintly. "Her heart was struck by your magic. She's fading fast." Elsa gasped, tears freezing on her cheeks. "No, Anna." Hans leaned closer. "There's nothing anyone can do." He left her in silence, the sound of her chains echoing through the frozen dungeon. Outside, the blizzard roared louder than ever. The storm was no longer just around Elsa. It was Elsa. The storm over Arendelle had become a living nightmare. Snow and wind tore through the streets, blinding anyone who dared step outside. Ice split the cobblestones, towers groaned, and the sea itself had frozen into jagged waves. In the middle of the chaos, Elsa stumbled through the blizzard, her heart breaking with every breath. "Anna!" she whispered into the roaring wind. "What have I done?" Each tear that fell turned to tiny crystals before hitting the ground. Around her the storm pulsed with her pain, growing stronger, darker. She didn't care if the world froze. Her sister was gone. But somewhere nearby, Anna still clung to life. Olaf trudged beside her, his twig arms trembling, his carrot nose nearly frozen off. "Come on, Anna," he said, his voice shaking. "We just have to make it to Elsa." Anna could barely speak. "Olaf, I can't." "Yes, you can," Olaf insisted, pulling her closer to a flickering lantern. "We're almost there. Just think warm thoughts. Like summer." He smiled weakly. "I'll tell you what I love about summer. Bees'll buzz, kids'll blow dandelion fuzz, and I'll be doing whatever snow does in summer." Anna gave a faint laugh, her breath shallow. "You'll melt. Some people are worth melting for," Olaf said softly, placing his twig hand on hers. "Now, let's find your sister." Together, they pushed through the snow, following the faint glow of Elsa's magic. Meanwhile, back at the castle gates, Kristoff battled the wind, his face red from the cold. He could feel in his heart that Anna was in danger. He urged Sven forward. "Faster, boy! She needs me!" Through the haze of snow, he saw a figure collapse. Anna, barely standing, leaning on Olaf. Without thinking, he leapt from Sven and ran to her side. "Anna!" Her eyes fluttered open, her voice a whisper. "Kristoff!" He pulled her close. "We'll get you warm. We'll make it. But before he could move, Olaf pointed behind them. "Look!" Through the swirling snow, Elsa stood, lost and broken. Her hands hung at her sides, and tears streamed down her face. She whispered Anna's name again, not knowing her sister was only a few steps away. Kristoff looked at Anna, then at Elsa, realization dawning. She needs her sister. Anna, trembling and half-frozen, saw Hans moving through the storm with his sword drawn. His eyes were cold, his intent cruel. He raised the blade toward Elsa. "Don't!" Anna gasped. With the last of her strength, she turned and stumbled forward. Her legs felt heavy as stone, her breath a thin mist. Elsa knelt, unaware of the danger behind her. Hans shouted over the wind, "You can't run from this!" and swung the sword downward, but it never struck. Anna threw herself between them. A flash of white light erupted. In an instant, she froze solid, her hand outstretched toward Elsa, her body turning to glittering ice. The blade struck her frozen form and shattered. Elsa turned, gasping in horror. "Anna!" She fell to her knees, clutching her sister's icy shoulders. "Please! No! Come back!" The storm howled one final time, then fell silent. Snowflakes drifted softly from the sky. Elsa buried her face in her hands, sobbing. Olaf and Kristoff watched in heartbreak as the cold queen wept over her sister's frozen body. Then, slowly, something changed. A single tear from Elsa fell onto Anna's chest, glowing faintly where it touched the ice. The light spread soft and golden. Elsa's voice cracked as she whispered, "I love you, Anna." The ice began to melt. Cracks shimmered like sunlight through water. Anna blinked and then breathed. Warmth returned to her cheeks. She looked up at her sister, smiling weakly. You saved me." Elsa shook her head, tears streaming. "No, Anna, you saved me." The storm was gone. The air grew still, the sky clearing to a calm blue. Above them, sunlight pierced the clouds, touching the snow with a golden glow. Love, not fear, had broken the curse. The first rays of dawn pierced the thinning clouds, turning the snow-covered mountains into a sea of gold and silver. The storm that had raged for days was gone. The air was still, quiet, and heavy with the aftertaste of magic. Elsa held Anna close, tears glistening like diamonds on her cheeks. Her sister's color was returning, the frost fading from her skin. Warmth spread through the air, gentle, steady, and alive. You came back to me," Elsa whispered. Anna smiled faintly. "Of course I did. Love always finds its way." Elsa laughed through her tears. For the first time the sound was pure, not broken by fear. Around them the ice began to soften. What had been jagged and cold now shimmered with life. The snowflakes danced lazily in the sunlight, reflecting rainbow hues. Kristoff, Olaf, and Sven stood nearby, their eyes wide with wonder. Olaf's smile grew until his carrot nearly fell off. "Whoa, it's like summer and winter had a baby." Kristoff chuckled. "I think that's called spring." Elsa looked around at the land she had nearly buried beneath her sorrow. "I never meant for any of this," she said softly. Anna squeezed her hand. "It doesn't matter now. You know how to fix it." Elsa hesitated, then took a deep breath. She closed her eyes and let her hands rise. "Love will thaw," she whispered. A pulse of warmth spread outward. Snow melted into glittering rivers. Frost turned to crystal droplets that fell like stars. Across the valley, Arendelle began to awaken. Doors opened. People stepped out, watching in awe as the ice melted from rooftops and the frozen fjord returned to water. The eternal winter was ending. When Elsa and Anna returned to the castle gates, the crowd fell silent. Some knelt, others gasped. The queen they had feared now looked radiant, gentle, at peace. Elsa smiled humbly. "I'm sorry for the fear I caused. I was afraid too, but I've learned. Love is stronger than fear." She waved her hand, and in an instant the courtyard transformed. Ice arches rose from the ground, forming a delicate skating ring glistening under the sun. Children cheered, slipping across the smooth surface, laughing. The people of Arendelle didn't see a monster anymore. They saw their queen. Anna spun beside Elsa, her eyes bright. "You see? You can control it." Elsa grinned. "I can, when I'm not afraid." Kristoff approached, scratching his head. "So, does this mean summer's back?" Elsa flicked her wrist. A snow cloud appeared over Olaf, sprinkling flurries above his head. "For most of us, yes. But Olaf gets his own personal winter." Olaf looked up, amazed. "I love it. Now I can finally enjoy warm hugs and sunshine." Laughter echoed across the courtyard. Even Sven pranced happily in circles, his hooves splashing through puddles. Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the peaks, Elsa and Anna stood together on the castle balcony. The air was cool and calm. "Do you think everything will really go back to normal?" Anna asked. Elsa shook her head gently. "Not normal. Better." Anna leaned her head on Elsa's shoulder. "We've both changed." "Yes," Elsa said softly, "but we've found each other again, and that's what matters." Below them, the lanterns of Arendelle flickered to life, their golden glow reflected in the waters of the thawed fjord. The castle sparkled faintly with tiny patches of living ice, not cold or sharp anymore, but luminous and full of color. Elsa raised her hand, shaping a new sculpture. Not a fortress this time, but a graceful fountain of snowflakes, frozen mid-dance, glistening with light. "A palace of light," Anna said, smiling. "It's beautiful." Elsa nodded, a reminder that love can turn even the coldest heart warm again. As the last of the sunlight faded and stars appeared, above, the sisters stood hand in hand, the Snow Queen and the heart that thawed her. And from that day forward, Arendelle flourished, not in endless winter, but in everlasting harmony.